I bring you greetings and I give honor to God. And we want to talk to you today about the Child Protective Service that they had back in the Bible days compared to what it is in today's days. As a result, we also want to speak on the part about how it is that you don't have to fight the people. Their spirits operating behind the scene. And we're going to be speaking of 1Kings chapter 3, verses 16 through 28. And it says, Then came two women that were harlots, unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass that the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. And she arose in the midnight, and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I arose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then said the king, The one said, This is my son, and that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other says, Nay, but thy son is dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman who the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided. Then the king answered and said, Come, and give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard the judgment which the king had judged. And they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do the judgment. Now, we're going to speak on the fact that you have spirits in operation behind the scene. You have the spirit of deceit, the spirit of murder. You have the spirit of a thief, a robbery. You have a spirit that don't mind something being done to something because it doesn't belong to him. It doesn't belong to her. But you also have a judge that has a heart that's after God. And what this judge did is when these ladies came to him with that baby, because of what dirty one mother had did. She lost her child and came up with a way to take somebody else's to make it hers. And all in that same sense, what she did was lie, she stole, she deceived, tried to deceive, but the true mother realized that sometimes when we're in the darkness, we may not be able to see things, because you have people that do things nowadays that put you in the darkness. You can't see the full light because of what they working with. And you don't realize they working with it. You ignorant to a whole lot of things. You don't know a whole lot of things. And you don't know some of the protocol. You don't know the procedures. Even in the spirit realm, there's level of evil that some people operate in, that you being in the midst of it, you will never realize what it is that's being done, how it's being done, and you definitely won't realize who it is that's doing it. Because those spirits is at operation. You see the person, but you don't see the spirits. This lady was asleep when her baby was taken, but she knew that wasn't her baby. She didn't realize it wasn't hers at night, but when that morning came and she could see for sure and look at that child and tell if that child was hers or not, because she was there when the child was born. It was her child. The child has a birthmark. The child has something that a mother would let her know and recognize that that's my child. But better yet and still, when she looked at that child and said that was my child, you have deceived me. You switched children. They went to a just judge. They took it to Child Protective Service Court. But they had a just judge that was there that had a heart after God. But better yet and still, when they brought that child to the judge and was speaking to the judge, and it was like we were the only two in the house. She had a baby. I had a baby. 3 days later, she had a baby. My baby ended up somehow, she laid on her baby. Her baby died. That night, she took my baby and replaced my baby with her baby. Now, what kind of stuff would that be for somebody to place their dead child on your bosom and take your living child? That's swapping destinies. That's somebody robbing something that belonged to you and giving you back what they want you to have, which was of null effect. Her child was no longer living, but yours was. She took the living and left you the dead. Because she knew the dead could no longer go forward. A lot of times that's exactly what's done when you sign contracts. They put you in bondage. You can no longer do this. You can no longer do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't see your children. You can't go near your children. You can't, do things that you usually freely do, especially if you're innocent. Now, all of us need help sometime. There are things that goes on in people's lives that some may never tell, but they still need help. And sometimes people do things that they should not do, and do injure their children, do things to their children that's physically seen, emotionally seen. And 9 times out of 10, if you do something like that, come correct. Admit it, because no matter what, God, you can get and stand before God and lie to him. He know the truth. He was there already. If they don't, he do. And in that same sense, with this lady, what did she do? She lied to the judge. This is my child, not hers. But then the judge said, I want to find out who's the real mother. And this is where the best interest of the child part come in. So what this judge that has a heart after God, what he did was for the best interest of the child. Let's see who loved the child and who don't. What mother don't love a newborn baby? What mother has some hatred, or have some malice or hatred in the heart towards a newborn baby? We'll see what they say, what the response will be, what the emotion will be. If somebody come to you and tell you they're going to cut your baby in half, and it's your baby, your mindset going to be, I don't want my child to die, just as his mother did. Oh no, we can't kill the baby now. No, this is my baby, but we gonna let him live. Because eventually I will see him one day. But, for sure, she knew if they cut that child in half, her son was gonna be like the other lady's son. She was not gonna see him from that point on. So she was like, okay, judge, no, don't do that. Give her the baby. Give her the baby, but let him live. And that's exactly what this demonic spirit and operation behind the scene does. It breaks you down, your weakness. Her weakness was that child. He knew where to hit it. When you operating under some of these demonic spirits, what they do is break you down to the point that they have you saying sorry to them or sorry to the situation, and you ain't did nothing. You apologizing for things you haven't done. You yielding your control over. She was willing to give her child up in order for the child not to be harmed. And a lot of times that's exactly what it is. That spirit of murder will come in and say, have you thinking? Or they would tell you, you're not going to get your child back if you don't do this, if you don't do that. You got to say you did this. You got to say you do that. If you do this, that, and some of the other, we'll do this. That's the devil from the pits of hell. His demonic spirits in operation to gain manipulation and control. But what did this young lady do? Please don't kill this child. But not everybody has a just heart, a heart after God. But this particular king that they bought the baby to, the two ladies bought the baby to, so he had a heart after God. Because he realized, you know what? This other lady over here talking about cut the child in half, she willing to kill her own. That's murder. Her son may have died by accident, but better yet and still, she had no problem with murdering somebody else's. And you got a lot of that going on. You have no problem with murdering somebody else's child, somebody else's grandchild, somebody else's great-grandchild, somebody else's son, somebody else's daughter. They don't have no problem with it. Just as long as they're getting what they want. If they can't have it their way, they don't want it no way. You can't have it neither. You give me my portion, you take your portion. But how you going to take advantage of something that's not even yours? How you going to take advantage of something that's not even yours? It was not her child. Her child had died. Her child had died. But she did what she had to do to replace her child by taking somebody else's. Now, how many people do you know that'll be willing to take somebody else's child, set it up on the down low, and make things appear to be something that is not, in the name of what they want? And then add in, it's for the best interest of the child. And then when it comes down to the best interest of the child, it's about getting what they want instead of what's in the best interest of that child or those children. Like I said, the young lady child that had died and she stole the other lady's child, so that was a spirit of thievery, theft, robbery. And intentionally do it. When you take time to deceive somebody to the point that you take your dead child, take their living child, then take your dead child and put him where her living child was. But then you turn around and say, oh no, you got it twisted. This is my child. Your child died, not mine. Playing mind games. Manipulation. They can make you believe what they want you to believe. Or try to at least. And have you so convinced that they may be right and you may be wrong. And some of them can talk to you because of the manipulation behind the scene. You don't even realize it. It don't even appear to be what it is. Because you don't know what it is. You have given your legal right to your freedom, to your own control, yielded over to somebody else by means of a signed contract. And some of it don't even have to be signed. By means of you doing what they want you to do. You come into agreement with it. And that's all it needs. But you got to get that right. Take back control of what's yours. Do like this mother did. Oh no, King. Don't kill my child. The other one over here saying cut it in half. Oh no, she take her portion and she take hers. Why would you want a half of a dead baby? Because there's no love. That's the devil from the pits of hell. Destroy. mine dead, I want hers dead too. If I can't have it for myself, yes, kill it. Kill it. And that's evil. But sometimes we can be so convinced that we are dealing with a person instead of actually dealing with the demons behind those persons. What's actually going on through them or behind the scene. And that's even in groups, organizations, systems like the government court system, child protective services. If they had these demons in the Bible, just imagine what they got going on today. And calling it something that it ain't. How many babies have been traded? Somebody lost something of theirs and went and took something of somebody else's. But then you looked around and didn't get a king or a judge that had a heart that was after God. You got somebody that had a heart after money, a heart after favor, a heart after what was best for them or what they wanted. But the day will come when we all gonna stand before a just God. And it ain't gonna be no excuses. Cause he right there, see all, know all, heard all, recognizes all, and ain't no blaming. They made me do it because I was employed by them. No, they ain't working neither. But he also knows what was in control behind the scenes. The dark side and all. Nothing hidden from God. Nothing. Nothing hidden from God. But I say unto you that yes, they had the same dark side stuff that's going on now, going on back in the Bible days. But trust God and know. Trust God and know the time is coming now. And it won't be too long. God gonna rain his judgment down. Yes, there is a just God. There is a just judge. And when he do, it's gonna be yea, nay, and amen. It ain't gonna be about the dollar because he ain't for sale, he ain't for rent, and he ain't got nothing. That somebody can give him something for them to give him, to give them back something in return. He's not that kind of God. He's a God of justice, a God of love, a God of compassion. But he also is a God of wrath. A God of wrath. So just wait a while. Read up on 1Kings chapter 3, verses 16 to 28. And watch, wait, and see. The time is now. The time is now. God is going to do exactly what needs to be done. You be blessed.